Instagram. So come on in. Hi, Jim underscore go to on Instagram. Thanks for joining. So my name is attorney Judith Luce Montgomery of the Atlanta Family and Immigration Law Firm. And I have the pleasure of having my realtor, Amesha Mason of Mason and Associates on today. And she is going to be chatting about the top 10 tips for selling and buying in the midst of a pandemic. And so I wanted to bring her on to kind of impart some wisdom on folks who are homeowners, have equity in their home, or was planning to list their home on the market and now has questions and concerns. Hi, Scott underscore Pilgrim. Thanks for joining on Instagram. And so I will introduce Realtor Amesha Mason. But before I do that, I just want to share with everyone that we just sold my house. Miss Mason was very strategic in making sure that my house was sold. I think we sold in under 30 days. Did we go under contract in under 30 days? I mean, right. And so in the midst of a pandemic. And so I just want you guys to know, thanks, Jim. I just want you guys to know that she is stellar. Her and her team are amazing. If you are in need of a realtor, this is the person that you need to be hiring. And so without further ado, I will let Miss Mason take the floor. Thanks for being here. Yeah. And I also have some questions for you as well. So if you want me to start with the questions, or do you want to go through your tips? Okay. Good. Right. All right. That sounds good. So one of the first questions that we received was, should I withdraw my home from the market and wait until this whole pandemic is over before selling? Yeah. Right. 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 Oh,
if your house is not on the market, it's a very low chance that it's going to sell. The only way to play the game is to be in the game. The only way to win, first you have to play.
Okay. So this is a kind of a perfect example of what was going on with us, right? Because my house was on the market before the pandemic hit. And then obviously you came in as my second realtor. But we were very concerned about whether we were able to sell it in the midst of not being able to show the house the way we wanted to show it, right?
Right.
So that was an issue, but you knew that we knew the house needed to be sold. So the next question is, what is the best way to position my home to sell for top dollar in this market at this time?
So this market presents some unique challenges, especially over the last 4 weeks. I would say it's always been win the beauty contest and price it right. Now I'm advising my sellers, winning the beauty contest isn't optional. A lot of clients are really narrowing down, a lot of buyers are narrowing down the houses that they go inside because they want to limit their risk. So if the house that you have put on the market is not aesthetically pleasing online, you're never going to get showings. If you put 4 walls and a roof on, just a vacant home, and you don't either virtually stage or professionally stage, and there's a lot of inventory in that neighborhood, buyers can't envision themselves in the space. One thing that I think is really important right now is curb appeal. A lot of people focus on the inside of the house and they completely forget to invest some money on the exterior. Well, right now as Georgia is currently opening in phases, but over the last 4 weeks, all people really, I don't want to say could do, but many people were driving neighborhoods just to get out the house.
Right.
And so whereas they may have been considering your house because the lawn wasn't cut or there was no flowers planted or there was no pine straw, or so for some people a fresh coat of paint, they just drove past it and ruled your house out. Right. Whereas before we had the luxury of going into every home that a buyer wanted to see. So I would say really focus on your curb appeal. Make sure you're winning the beauty contest. Outperform your competition. Be aware of what's on the market in your price range. And now I'm actually advising my sellers to price slightly below what they perceive their house is worth. One thing that has happened that I saw immediately, and if you don't mind me saying, even for your house, buyers' perspective shifted immediately when COVID happened. They automatically thought they were going to get a house 10, 15% below market. And then quickly learned after perhaps submitting more than one lowball offer, oh, whoa, we're still having to come in full price. Oh, there's a multiple offer situation.
Right. Or we're not even considering your low bid.
In some cases, there was even no response.
Yes.
So I would highly recommend, if you think your house is worth, before COVID, if you thought your house was worth $200,000, some people would price about $205, $208 just to see if they could push the value. Right now, maybe $297, $295. And then the reality is you're going to get those buyers who their perception is a little skewed and they think they could get a really, really good deal that perhaps doesn't exist. By pricing your property slightly below market, you open up to another pool of buyers that will help offset the lowball offers you'll get.
Okay.
All right. So
I just wanted to, I see Wendy and I see Kristen on Facebook. And I see Nisi on Facebook, so I wanted to say hi to them. And actually, the first question, I just want to go back to it really quickly because I'm not certain if they were able to hear you. So I just want to make sure that we address that question again. Should I withdraw my home from the market and wait until this pandemic is over before selling? And I believe that they missed that your answer. So if you could answer that again for me.
Absolutely. So if you don't have to sell right now, if you don't have to sell, and you understand the risk of waiting, meaning your house could potentially be valued less after this or through this pandemic, which could last 18 to 24 months. We don't know, right? Nobody has a crystal ball.
Right.
As long as you are aware of what the risk is of waiting, feel free to wait if that's what's best for your psychological health. I mean, selling a house is no easy feat and it can be very stressful. However, if your top concern is protecting your equity position and you need all of that money to roll into where you're going, it is advised to put your house on the market. And I'm going to go in deeper, like perhaps later, of why that can be to your benefit.
Okay, sounds good. So the next question on our list is, are you still listing homes right now?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to say we have a group of people who've opted to just hold off just because they simply don't feel comfortable with people in and out of the house. And then we have a group of people who they have to sell, right? They just have to sell. They're already under contract on their next house. They have a job reload. They're trying to get into the next school, into a superior school district. And so we are listing homes, and with those sellers, the people who have opted not to move forward and list right now have actually created the perfect storm for the people who did. Because currently they've created a further inventory shortage. Not that Atlanta didn't already have one. So they've created an inventory shortage, which means buyers have fewer homes to choose from.
That's right.
You know, just I'll give you a quick example. Just Saturday, I received a referral. The buyers called. They're looking in a very specific school district in Lawrenceville. We do the buyer consult virtually. I pull every home for sale in Lawrenceville in their price point. 14 homes. That's it.
That's it.
Everybody looking for a home in this school district, there's only 14 homes to choose from.
Unbelievable.
So we quickly went through all 14 homes and realized there's really only 2 worth going to see.
Right.
So we went to go see both on Sunday. Both the offers Sunday night, they were binding yesterday.
Wow, that's
now,
amazing.
Just imagine if you were a seller in Lawrenceville in that school district. You really only had to outperform 2 homes. Right?
Well, let me ask you this, because Jim on Instagram said he said, oh man, it's a seller's market. Now, we felt that it was a seller's market. Do you still feel that way now?
So according to the way realtors determine whether it's a seller's or buyer's market, sellers and buyers go by what they feel. We go by the data. And so the data says that under 500,000 right now, we are still in a seller's market.
Okay.
And the way we determine whether we're in a buyer's or seller's market is if we have less or more than 6 months worth of inventory. If we have more than 6 months worth of inventory, then we are in a buyer's market.
Okay.
And if we have less than 6 months worth of inventory, there's a shortage, we have a seller's market. And we have been in a seller's market for some time.
For a while. Absolutely. So now on that note, obviously us being in Atlanta Metro and Georgia being reopened prematurely, are you still showing homes?
Absolutely. For those people who have to move, we are still showing homes. However, we are being very, very strategic. The days of I have 15 homes I want to go see is over. First of all, most people can't find 15 homes to look at in their price point. And we want to limit our exposure to COVID. So the fewer homes we go into, the better for me, the better, better for you. So what we're doing is really spending that time together online, virtually, searching, scouring the multiple listing service. I mean, my buyer consult this weekend was almost 2 hours long, but we virtually looked at all 14 homes in their price point. Right? So we're really narrowing it down to like 1 or 2 homes. I am providing masks, gloves, and booties and hand sanitizer at the showing. For occupied homes, we're calling to ask, hey, is anybody, in the house sick? We're interviewing the sellers too.
Right.
We're also asking the sellers, hey, can you turn on all the lights and slightly crack the door so that we don't have to touch you?
Right.
And then when we come back, when we leave, as a courtesy to you, we won't turn anything off so that we can practically have a touchless showing.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Gotcha. And that's what we did with my home.
Yes.
Yep. That's what we did. So what is the proper etiquette for viewing a home in person now? Is that what you're referring to in terms of the booties and the mask and the hand sanitizers and the gloves? Is that what you would consider the proper etiquette now for in-person home?
I think it's just mandatory right now. If you want to protect yourself, if you want to protect your clients. I will say this. I'm going to plug my colleagues right now. On behalf of all realtors, supplies are sparse right now. Right? PPE, we want to make sure that everybody has it, and yet there's just not enough. So realtors are doing their best to provide clients with that. But if you have a mask, if you have gloves, if you have hand sanitizer, show up to the show up to the showing with those things.
Right.
Your realtor will appreciate you, because if you think about it, we do this perpetually. So the more we can say for the people who truly don't have PPE while showing property is very helpful. Here's another thing. I know we've been in the house. I know we've been bored. Well, some of us. Let's not go see houses that we really are not interested in because we like the decor. And a lot of buyers like to look at a lot of homes. Let's be respectful of our health, of our time. Let's really narrow it down. Before, when showings, we would turn on all the lights, make sure they're all turned off. Now we're asking the sellers, can you do that? Just for their protection. Not touching sellers, personal property. Before it was, now it's real important that we're not touching people's things.
Right. Or just showing up, we had folks showing up, to my house, just because.
Yes. With no appointment. Yeah, because they saw a sign.
Right.
So that leads me to have an appointment. Be working with an agent. Don't just show up to people's house because there's a sign out. You don't know if it's occupied or not. Here's another thing that I know this is kind of quirky, but it's heating up. People are out looking at properties with flip-flops. Some sellers do not want shoes worn in their home.
Correct.
So if you show up with flip-flops on, that puts you in a very compromised position. So bring an extra pair of socks, because we never know. We want to respect the people who respect the sellers and what their instructions are, right? So we want to make sure you have foot coverings when you go in. I think and also lock the doors. And if you're opening blinds to let more light in, make sure they're closed and make sure the door is locked. The number one complaint we get from sellers is that the doors were left unlocked. The windows were left open.
Right.
And while you're showing, it's easy to kind of forget, but we just have to be extra mindful right now.
Right. And then the other thing, when you said also have, make sure that you, have narrowed it down and you have a realtor, but also have a pre-approval. Know what your buying power is, right?
Yeah, no reputable realtor will put you, well, not many realtors are putting you in their car now, but no reputable realtor will show you a house without a pre-approval letter right now.
Right.
That is a standard amongst our industry.
Okay.
So if you're working with an agent right now and you don't have a pre-approval letter, you probably have the wrong agent. Right.
So let me ask you this. Are homes still closing on time? What's going on with that? And this is a multi-level question that I have, but are we still closing on time?
The last 4 weeks have been tumultuous for several people. Primarily buyers who are finding out that they're no longer employed in the middle of their real estate transaction. One of my colleagues had several lenders are verifying employment at the closing table just to protect their investment, and finding out that buyers are finding out at the table that they're not employed.
Right.
So that obviously creates delays and for some people terminations. It's critical that the team that you are aligned with while you're looking for a house is on top of it. One of the criteria or special steps that we put together for your showings, for your buyer who bought your home was we need the lender to check every 3 to 4 days that the buyer is still employed. You have a right to terminate the contract if we find out that the buyer is not employed.
Right.
And some would say, well, if the buyer's not employed, they wouldn't buy a house. But when buyers are committed to buying a house, they will drag that contract on for 40 days trying to figure it out. Well, for sellers, that's 40 days of sitting on the market.
Right.
And now you have to start all over. But if you knew that 3 weeks ago, you could pivot quicker.
Right.
So we really have.
And you know that happened to me because the original folks that I was under contract with, that first week that COVID went hit, they lost their job with Delta. And so then it was a week before we were set to close, a week and a half before we were set to close. And I was without a buyer.
Yeah.
And I had to start all over again. So absolutely. So I can understand why that was definitely put in for my protection, because at that point in time, I was scared because I was like, I just don't know now, and was very afraid about having the home be taken off the market for a potential buyer that could have bought, who could have purchased it,
Yeah. So there are people closing on time. I've had several deals this month last month close on time, and yet I had some that were delayed. The key is, can you pivot quickly when there's a delay and recognize when it's time to work with this buyer because finding another buyer might be more challenging, or this is never going to close. Let's cut our losses and move on.
Right. The King Plan on Instagram says buyers are creative with stall tactics. Would you agree with that?
I would agree. And you know what? If you were buying, you would be too. If you have earnest money out there and you found the home of your dreams, I'm going to think of every possible way to keep this deal together. Right. So it just depends on the position you sit in the transaction. If you're the seller, you give a buyer 24 hours to figure it out, or you got to go.
Right.
If you're a buyer, I'm going to exercise my 8-day unilateral unless you have a strategic team, agent, lender, attorney that's going to make sure that language is in there so that they don't have an out.
Right.
Or they don't have the ability to drag your contract on.
Correct. So this is the multi-part of the question. So does my credit score affect my chances of closing on a house that I have under contract?
So this is kind of teetering into lender land. I try to stay out of that. I will say this. If you have a pre-approval and you have marginal credit, and for the sake of this conversation, I'm going to say under a 640. All lenders have different guidelines. By no means am I a lender. By no means am I quoting anybody's guideline.
Right.
But if you have under a 640 and you are qualified for a home and you are putting less than 5% down, I would be checking with my lender perhaps weekly to make sure that the loan that I was approved for still exists.
Wow.
Some lenders have really tightened up their guidelines to protect their investment. And so a lot of buyers that used to could get into a house with a 580, with a 600, it's become very, very challenging for them.
Yeah. And
so it's really important when it's interesting. I used to sell real estate in California for about like 8-9 years. And what was customary was when we received an offer, I haven't seen it in Georgia yet. Buyers have to provide the first page of their credit report with their social security number blocked out.
Oh, wow.
When you submit an offer, the sellers and the listing agents wanted to know, how well qualified is this buyer? Are they barely getting a loan, or are they solid? I
Gotcha.
have not seen that happen, and yet here in Georgia, and yet I'm curious to know if that were to take place, if sellers have more knowledge about how well qualified their borrower is or their buyer is, if they can make a more informed decision about which offers they accept.
That's true.
Sometimes the highest offer is not the best offer.
Right. That's true. That's true. So you would say a 640, under a 640, beware.
Under a 640, I would be having strong conversations with my lender frequently, just to make sure. To make sure my loan program still exists. It doesn't mean you can't buy a home.
Okay.
Doesn't mean that. It just means that you need to be mindful to make sure that what you were quoted still exists by the time you write an offer.
All right. So the next question is, are attorney offices still open for closings? I can answer that question. I'm gonna let you answer it. But as an attorney, I can speak for our firm. The offices are open. However, I can tell you that we specifically are not accepting clients in office. We are doing virtual, but it's a little different for closings, right? So now you can lend a hand to answering that question for closing attorneys. How does that work? Because the documents are signed in real time.
Yeah, so buyers have several options. They can close in person. They can still close in person. The attorneys are practicing social distancing. Many of my preferred attorneys, they have, they're sanitizing between showings. They're keeping the buyer and the seller in separate rooms. The attorney's on one end of the table, the buyer and seller, well, the buyer and or sellers on the other end. You can do a mail away, where you can literally have your documents emailed to you if you are the seller, or you can pick them up, go have them notarized, and bring them back. You can even do a virtual closing now, where you and the attorney are virtually signing, and then you go drop your documents back off. They are requesting that the agents not be present. They just want to physically.
Less
people. Yeah, agents can be present virtually.
Yes. Okay.
So you have a ton of options.
Right. Now, I saw the King plan on Instagram said DocuSign. I can say that they didn't allow DocuSign for my closing. I still had to, they mailed the packet the 2 days before. Signed it. I had a notary in my office. My paralegal is a notary. She signed it, and we put it in the mail to them overnight. But they did not allow DocuSign, the King plan, just to let you know. Hi, Ivory. Thanks for joining on Instagram. I have my Realtor Extraordinaire, Amesha Mason, on today, giving us her top 10 tips for buying and selling in the midst of a pandemic. And we are winding down, actually. So do you think it's a good investment to consider multifamily units at this time as an investor when so many people aren't paying rent? That's a good question.
That is a good question.
Yes.
I have this thought, like, it's always a good time for a great deal.
No.
Right? Yes. And so investors make money in a bad market. They make money in a good market. And what is a bad market if you're making money? You're either getting property on sale or you're selling for a premium, right? And so one thing, if you're buying multifamily right now, you may be paying closer attention to factor in a higher vacancy rate for people who are going through unemployment right now. And I trust that whoever is buying investment property right now is factoring in a high enough vacancy rate that they're still able to cover the mortgage, even if they have 25% of the building not paying rent. So if you got a good deal, it doesn't matter if you're buying it in a pandemic or not. People will always need a place to stay. Right. And they will prioritize their rent over practically everything else. And we got to remember, this is a moment in time. This will pass.
Yep.
And when we get on the other side of this, people who really took advantage of the low interest rates, sellers who took advantage of the low inventory, and then let's be honest, there's going to be some people who have to sell because they lost their job and they just want to take the equity out of their home before it goes into foreclosure.
Right.
The buyers who position themselves to take advantage of that, they win. So although it's uncertain time and we're going through a lot of shifting and pivoting, there's a lot of opportunity in this market.
Right. So the King Plan said it would depend on if the investor can sit on the property until the units are filled. That's the thing. Can they sit? We're winding down to our last question. What do you believe the future of the Atlanta market will be post-COVID? So what are you seeing based on statistics and numbers? What are you seeing out here?
So we probably ask this question in our leadership council maybe once a week. And here's where we land most of the time. Nobody has a crystal ball. And yet Atlanta had a very healthy economy and real estate market before COVID. Atlanta is positioned slightly more unique than other areas because we had a strong job economy and we had a housing shortage before COVID. And so what I believe we're going to see is we're going to go to a more balanced market versus going straight from a seller's market to a buyer's market. Right in the middle is a balanced market. That's where we have enough inventory where people are able to shop and not have to make an offer the same day. People are going to be able to maybe sleep on it and not lose the property. Right. We are seeing in some areas, there's still multiple offers in the middle of a pandemic.
Wow.
I have several colleagues who have reported, gosh, we won a multiple offer bid, or we just lost out on 2 multiple offer bids this week. Wow. Right? And then we have sellers who have been sitting on the market and not getting any traffic. Wow. So I think what we're going to see is the real estate market become a more balanced space. And then it all depends on how COVID pans out over the next 90 days.
Right.
Everything is kind of contingent upon that.
Correct.
But if the way the market behaved over the last 4 weeks is any indication of the health of Atlanta's real estate market, we're in good shape.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, if you can get multiple offer situation in the middle of a pandemic, your market is well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Amesha, tell the folks, first of all, I want to say thank you so much. Lauren, I didn't get to acknowledge you, so I wanted to say hi. Thanks for joining us. And all the people on Instagram, thank you so much for joining us. But most of all, Amesha, thank you for taking the time out today to share and impart some knowledge and wisdom. And I hope that this helps a lot of people in making their decision on whether to sit, sell, or buy at this time. Please tell people how they can get in contact with you and where they can find you.
You can reach me on Facebook, Amesha, Amesha Mason, Mason. You can reach me directly on my phone, 310-855-2225. Email ameshamason@gmail.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And you obviously know I am your Atlanta family and immigration attorney. You can reach us at 678-601-5580. We are on the World Wide Web. The website and the phone number is across the bottom. Nous parlons créole and habla español. So you are free to reach us. If you do have a language barrier, please do not let that stop you. But again, during this COVID pandemic, I want to continue every week to provide as much information as I can to clients, past clients, future clients. And so know that you can send in your questions before 7 p.m. and we will be able to answer them. Even if you want to send them during the live session, we will be more than happy to answer those questions for you. Again, so thank you so much, everyone on Instagram. We are ending now. And then thank you, everyone, also on Facebook.
Thank you.
Have a good one, guys. Take care. Until
Happy Cinco de Mayo.
Oh, yes, that's right. Happy Cinco de Mayo and happy Taco Tuesday.
Yes. Talk to you later.